I want to cover the sound business really quickly because when I think of the business of sound, and I'm sure you've heard this all the time, I think of one tiny aspect of it, which is the Intel Pentium inside, dun, 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 or the McDonald's I'm loving it, or something like that. But I think you talk about 8 different pieces of sound in business. Can you just give me a quick education about, because so many people listening either are starting businesses or own businesses, and they probably have never once thought of their sound. I think of our sound, but it's only from a sound production standpoint. I bet there's probably 80% of my own business sound I'm not thinking of.
Well, there are 8 that we've discovered or catalogued, I suppose, along the way in the sound agency. Expressions of a brand in sound we're talking about here. And at the center, I would strongly suggest some guidelines. Every brand has a big book, and you say, okay, so it's about logos and typefaces and colors and so forth. How many pages are about sound? None. It's always none, which is a bit weird if you ask me. The 8 are brand voice, literally human voice. There's a lot of brands that we talk to, we communicate with only in voice. So you think of your bank or your credit card or your utility, it's phone calls. And there's no consistency. You might talk to somebody who's really depressed and low, and then somebody who's really mad, They don't actually train people. They may tell them what to say, but they don't talk about, this is how we are.
Okay, so a customer service standard.
Anything, yeah, it could be your corporate receptionist in headquarters. Okay. We are lively, or are we laid back? We're formal, or are we a bit cheeky? The story I always tell about that is the first time I ever got on a Virgin Atlantic plane many years ago. The stewardess said, "Hello, sexy," which I remember very well because it's the only time anybody's ever said that to me, and also because it somewhat surprised me. Now, she got the Virgin brand in 2 words. If she'd worked for British Airways and said that, she would have been sacked. But those days, Virgin was a cheeky challenger, irreverent, fun, young, dynamic. I mean, everything was in those 2 words. Brilliant. That's brand voice to a T. Then we've got brand music, which is important. And there are many brands that use music very well, a lot that don't. It can be very transitory. It can be like, let's use this piece of music because it's the creative director of the advertising agency's favorite track right now. It comes and goes. Nevertheless, when it's well done, British Airways with the Flower Duet from Lakme, if the moment you think of British Airways, you can hear those opera voices singing. So that's brand music. Sonic logo, you mentioned, absolutely key. I mean, I don't think many people could draw the Intel logo, but most people can go dang, 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 dang.
Oh my gosh, it's so pervasive.
Absolutely. And that was done by a guy called Walter Wazawa, and he was lucky, he was kind of the first in there. So he had Intel inside for the rhythm. That's the rhythm of it. And then the notes are 1st to 4th, 1st to 5th, which is the classic resolution. It's away and home.
Okay.
So that's, most symphonies have that.
Okay. And it's saying Intel inside. Okay.
That's exactly it. So you can, again, Sonic logos not applicable to everybody, but if you've got to make public announcements, I mean, I just noticed, for example, Dave Gilmour has just released a song which is based on the Sonic logo of French SNCF railways, which goes da, 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 da. And it's on the platforms and in the train and everywhere. And he heard it on the platform and he thought, I like that. So he's taken it and put it into a song, which I saw recently on Later with Jules Holland. It was very strange to see a Sonic logo being made into a song.
Yeah, somebody did that with the Price is Right tune, the old show with Bob Barker. The dun, 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 dun. Somebody put it in a song, and immediately I stopped what I was doing.
Wow.
It brought me back to where I was 10.
These things can become what are called earworms, where they're very familiar to us and they go through our head. And Coca-Cola and people like that have used such things in the past. So then we've got brands, branded audio, we call it, which is podcasting really. And this is, the field that you are in and that I'm in, where sound is actually a very big part of the brand. And it's creating sound, it could be video as well, but I'm focused on sound which has got value, and giving it to people as a podcast. For example, a retailer could do that and say, well, what we're doing this. You can create your own radio show with things like Audio Boom. Now it's possible to do this in a very cheap way on an iPhone or an Android. It costs almost nothing, goes up onto iTunes. It's really, really effective. And it's, I think, much more effective than email marketing. Product sound, very important for some products. Harley Davidson.
Right, of course.
You
Ferrari.
buy that? Yeah, Ferrari, absolutely. Yeah. Not so much for a pair of trousers. But for some products, it's really, really important to think of. And there was an interesting exercise some years ago. They ranked And there was a bunch of hairdryers, and they had consumers, I hate that word, potential customers, rank them by looking at them. And then when they turned them on, the ranking went completely around the other way, because the one that looked the most beautiful had that terrible noise to it, and people hated it. So it's important how things sound. Then we've got soundscapes in spaces, which is our speciality.
Yes.
Many, many spaces. You know, walk into corporate receptions, you go to the toilet in a corporate headquarters, you walk into a shop or a shopping mall or an airport or a train station, and very often you're bombarded with completely inappropriate sound.
Who does a good job of sound?
In a space?
Yeah. I just thought of Terminal 5 British Airways.
It's not bad.
Okay.
Terminal 5 is pretty good because they don't bombard you with too much stuff, although when you get downstairs it's a bit frenetic actually.
Okay.
But nevertheless it was quite well designed, and we nearly put a piece by Brian Eno in Terminal 5 actually. That was very close to happening originally.
It's a soundtrack.
It would have been a soundscape, yes.
Okay.
But it didn't quite happen.
To watch the rest of this fascinating interview, click on the link below and go to londonreelacademy.com. There you can sign in with your social media login and watch the rest of the episode for free, along with all of our episodes on London Real, my webinars, and all of our premium content, all located over at londonreelacademy.com. So click on the link below, you'll be directed there, and you can watch the rest of this fascinating interview, and I'll see you there.